The massive white ship moved slowly through the dark space between stars. Red crosses painted on its hull glowed under the light of a distant sun. The UESS Nightingale was the largest hospital ship ever built by humans. It was 3 miles long and carried the most advanced medical equipment in the galaxy. Dr. Amanda Brooks walked through the busy medical bay. She was tired but kept working. For 6 months, she and her team had treated wounded soldiers and civilians from both sides of the war. The Terran Federation and the Keth Empire had been fighting for 2 years. The Nightingale stayed neutral, helping anyone who needed medical care. "Dr. Brooks, we have 10 more patients coming in," said Nurse Linda Grant. She ran up to Amanda with a medical tablet in her hands. 5 humans and 5 Keth soldiers. "The Keth ones are badly hurt." Amanda nodded. "Prepare operating room 3. Get Patricia to help you." She looked at the long rows of beds filled with patients. Humans, Keth, and even some aliens from other worlds lay side by side. Pain was the same for everyone. On the bridge, Captain Ryan Cole watched the stars through the large windows. He was a good man who believed in the mission. A Nightingale had saved over 15,000 lives since the war started. They followed all the rules about medical ships. They broadcast their medical status every hour. They carried no weapons, except small ones for protection against pirates. "Captain, we are getting a message from the Keth High Command," said Communications Officer Carol Stone. She was young but very good at her job. "They want to know why we treated their prisoners." Ryan smiled a little. "Tell them what we always tell them. We are doctors, not soldiers. We treat everyone who needs help." Down in the engine room, Chief Engineer Jake Miller checked the power systems. The Nightingale needed lots of power to run its medical equipment. The ship had 6 fusion reactors, all working perfectly. Jake was proud of his work. A broken engine could mean death for patients who needed surgery. "Jake, how are we doing on power?" asked his assistant, Tommy Lee. "Good for now," Jake said. "But if we keep getting more patients, we might need to use the backup reactor." In the main hospital area, Dr. Brooks worked on a young Keth soldier. The alien looked like a large lizard with blue skin. He had been shot in the chest during a battle on a small planet. His breathing was weak. "He is just a kid," said Nurse Patricia Young. She helped Amanda with the surgery tools. "Probably not even 20 years old. War does not care about age," Amanda said sadly. She worked carefully to remove the bullet from the soldier's chest. "There, that should help him breathe better." The Keth soldier opened his yellow eyes and looked at Amanda. He tried to speak, but his voice was too weak. Amanda smiled at him and touched his arm gently. "You are safe now," she said. "We will take care of you." The young Keth closed his eyes and went back to sleep. Amanda had seen this many times. Soldiers from both sides were surprised when their enemies treated them with kindness. It gave her hope that maybe someday the war would end. Captain Cole walked through the hospital areas every day. He liked to see the patients and talk to his crew. Today he stopped at the bed of a human soldier named Billy Watson. Billy had lost his left leg in an explosion. "How are you feeling today, Billy?" Ryan asked. "Better, Captain?" "The doctors say I can go home next week." Billy looked sad. "I do not know what I will do now. I have been a soldier for 10 years. "You will find something," Ryan said. "Good men always do." As Captain Cole continued his walk, he saw Dr. Brooks coming out of surgery. She looked very tired. Her green medical clothes had blood on them. "Another successful surgery?" he asked. "Yes, but it was close. A Keth child, only 12 years old. She was caught in a bombing." Amanda sat down in a chair. "Ryan, sometimes I wonder if we are really making a difference." "We are," Ryan said firmly. "Every life we save matters. Every soldier." who goes home to their family matters. Carol Stone's voice came over the ship's communication system. Captain Cole to the bridge, please. We have an urgent message. Ryan and Amanda went to the bridge together. Carol looked worried as she handed the captain a message tablet. It is. From the Keth transport ship Ironclaw, Carol said. They are badly damaged and need help. They have over 200 civilians on board, including many children. Ryan read the message quickly. The Ironclaw had been attacked by pirates and was losing life support. They were only 6 hours away from the Nightingale. Where are they? Ryan asked. In the contested zone, near the Sigma system, Carl said. That area has been very dangerous lately. Both fleets have been fighting there. Amanda looked at the star charts. Ryan, we have to help them. 200 civilians and children, too. I know, Ryan said. He thought about the dangers. The contested zone was full of warships from both sides, but the Nightingale was a medical ship. Everyone respected the medical ships. It was against all the rules of war to attack them. Jake, can we get there in 4 hours? Ryan asked over the communication system. I can push the engines harder. Jake's voice came back. We can make it in 3.5 hours. Do it, Ryan ordered. Carol, send a message to both fleets. Tell them we are going to help the Ironclaw. Make sure they know we are a medical ship. Already doing it, Captain, Carol said. The Nightingale changed course toward the contested zone. In the medical bays, the doctors and nurses prepared for more patients. They had done this many times before. Dr. Brooks organized her teams and made sure they had enough supplies. Linda, get the emergency surgery rooms ready, Amanda said. Patricia, check our blood supplies. We might need a lot. As the ship moved through space, Ryan thought about their mission. The Nightingale was more than just a hospital ship. It was a symbol of hope in a dark war. It showed that even in the worst times, humans would help anyone who needed it. Captain, we are getting close to the contested zone, Carol said. I am picking up some military signals, but nothing aimed at us. Keep broadcasting our medical status, Ryan ordered. Make sure everyone knows who we are. Dr. Brooks came back to the bridge. We are ready for the patients. How bad do you think it will be? Hard to say, Ryan answered. Pirate attacks can be very bad. We just have to do our best. The Nightingale flew toward the damaged transport ship. Its crew was ready to save lives, just like they had done hundreds of times before. They had no idea that this mission would be their last. They had no idea that enemies were waiting for them in the dark space ahead. The white ship with the red crosses continued on its path, carrying hope and healing to those who needed it most. Behind them, the stars watched silently as the Nightingale moved toward its fate. The UESS Nightingale dropped out of faster-than-light travel near the coordinates where the Ironclaw was supposed to be. Captain Ryan Cole stood on the bridge looking at the main screen. Something was wrong, very wrong. Carol, are you sure these are the right coordinates? Ryan asked. Communications Officer Carol Stone checked her instruments twice. Yes, Captain. This is exactly where the Ironclaw said they would be. But there was no damaged transport ship waiting for them. Instead, 12 large Keth warships floated in formation like hungry wolves. Their dark green hulls had sharp points and weapon ports that glowed red in the starlight. The largest ship was twice the size of the Nightingale. Captain, I am reading Keth battle cruisers, said the sensor officer, Lieutenant Danny Harris. His voice was shaking. 12 ships total. All of them have their weapons powered up. Ryan felt cold fear in his chest. This was a trap. The distress call had been fake. But why would the Keth want to trap a medical ship? Carol, broadcast our medical status immediately, Ryan ordered. Make sure they know we are a hospital ship. We have patients on board. Already broadcasting, Captain, Carol said. I am sending it on all frequencies. On the largest Keth ship, Admiral Vextar sat on his command chair and watched the human medical ship. He was old for a Keth, with dark blue scales and yellow eyes that showed no mercy. He had been fighting humans for 20 years and hated them with all his heart. "Admiral, the human ship is broadcasting medical signals," said his second officer. "They claim to be a hospital ship." Vextar laughed, a sound like grinding metal. "I know what they are. Weak humans and their soft hearts. They think showing mercy makes them strong. Today they will learn how wrong they are." "But Admiral, attacking a medical ship is against all laws of war," the young officer said. Vextar turned his yellow eyes on the officer. "There are no laws. In war, only winners and losers. Today we send a message to Earth. We show them what happens when they try to help our enemies." Back on the Nightingale, Ryan tried to contact the Keth fleet. "This is Captain Ryan Cole of the medical vessel UESS Nightingale. We are a hospital ship protected under interstellar law. We mean no harm to anyone." The answer came quickly. "Admiral." Vextar's ugly face appeared on the main screen. "I am Admiral Vextar of the Keth Empire. You humans disgust me with your weakness. You treat our soldiers like they are your friends. You make them soft and weak. We treat everyone who needs help," Ryan said, trying to stay calm. "That is what doctors do. We are not soldiers. We carry no weapons." "Exactly," Vextar said with another horrible laugh. "You are weak, and weakness must be destroyed." The connection ended. Ryan felt his heart beating fast. He had been a ship captain for 15 years, but he had never faced anything like this. "Carol, send a message to Earth Fleet Command," Ryan ordered. "Tell them our position and what is happening. Send everything." "I am trying, Captain," Carol said, "but they are jamming most of our signals." Dr. Amanda Brooks ran onto the bridge. "Ryan, what is going on? My patients are getting scared." "Amanda, we are in trouble," Ryan said quietly. "Get your people ready to evacuate the patients if we have to." "Evacuate them where?" Amanda asked. "We are in the middle of space." Before Ryan could answer, the Keth ships began to move. They spread out in a circle around the Nightingale, like hunters surrounding their prey. "Captain, they are targeting our engines," Lieutenant Harris said. "All 12 ships have weapons locked on us." "This is insane," Ryan said. "Carol, keep broadcasting our medical status. Maybe someone will stop this madness." But Admiral Vextar was not interested in stopping. On his ship, he gave the order his officers would remember for the rest of their lives. "All ships open fire. On the human vessel, show no mercy." The first blast hit the Nightingale's rear section, where the main engines were located. The huge ship shook like a leaf in a storm. Lights went out and came back on. Alarms started ringing everywhere. "Hull breach on Deck 12, Lieutenant Harris reported. "Emergency teams responding." Dr. Brooks ran back toward the medical areas. She found chaos everywhere. Patients were screaming as their beds shook. Medical equipment was falling from tables and breaking on the floor. "Linda! Patricia!" Amanda called to her nurses. "We need to move the critical patients to the center of the ship." Nurse Linda Grant was helping an old human woman who had been hurt in a bombing. "Doctor, where can we take them?" "The whole ship is shaking." Another blast hit the ship, this time near the main medical bay. The lights went out completely for 10 seconds. When they came back on, Amanda saw that part of the ceiling had fallen down. 3 patients were trapped under the broken metal. "Help me get them out," Amanda said. She and Patricia worked together to lift the heavy pieces of ceiling. One of the patients was the young Keth soldier Amanda had operated on the day before. He was awake and looking at her with his yellow eyes. "Why are my people doing this?" He whispered in broken human language. Amanda did not know what to say. She just held his hand as another explosion shook the ship. On the bridge, Captain Cole tried everything he could think of. "Carol, are you getting through to anyone?" "I have. A weak signal to Earth," Carol said. "But I do not know if the message is getting through." The Keth ships moved closer and began firing faster. They were not trying to capture the Nightingale. They were trying to destroy it completely. Chief Engineer Jake Miller's voice came over the communication system. "Captain, we have lost main. Power to sections 4 through 8. The fusion reactors are running on emergency power only. How long can we last?" Ryan asked. "Maybe 20 minutes if they keep shooting like this." Jake said Dr. Brooks was trying to evacuate patients from the damaged medical bays when the worst hit came. A Keth plasma cannon struck the main hospital area directly. The explosion was so loud it made everyone's ears ring. When the smoke cleared, Amanda saw something that would stay in her nightmares forever. Half of the main medical bay was gone. Patients who had been sleeping peacefully in their beds were now dead or dying. The young Keth soldier she had been, trying to help, was crushed under a fallen beam. His yellow eyes were closed forever. "No, no," Amanda whispered. She ran to help the survivors, but there were too many hurt, and too few helpers. Nurse Patricia Young was trapped under some broken equipment. Linda Grant was trying to free her when another blast hit nearby. The force of the explosion threw Linda across the room. She hit the wall and did not get up. "Linda!" Amanda screamed. She ran to her friend and found blood coming from Linda's head. "Stay with me, Linda. Please stay with me." But Linda's eyes were already closing. She whispered something Amanda could. "Not here." Then she was gone. On the bridge, Lieutenant Danny Harris was working desperately at his station. "Captain, I think I can get a strong signal through to Earth, but I need more time." "Do whatever you can," Ryan said. Another explosion rocked the ship. This time, parts of the bridge ceiling fell down. Ryan was hit by a piece of metal and started. Bleeding from his head, Carol Stone helped the captain to his feet. "Ryan, we have to abandon ship." "No," Ryan said firmly. "We have 3,000 patients on board. We cannot leave them." The Keth ships were now so close they filled the windows. Their weapons fired again and again. Each blast killed more innocent people who had done nothing wrong except need medical help. Dr. Brooks ran through the broken corridors trying to save who she could. She found Chief Engineer Jake Miller trapped in a damaged elevator. His legs were crushed, but he was still trying to fix the ship's power systems. "Jake, leave it," Amanda said. "We need to get you to safety." "Cannot do that, Doc," Jake said with a weak smile. "These people need power for their life support machines. I have to keep the reactors running." Another explosion shook the ship. This time, Amanda knew it was the end. The blast was so powerful, it threw her to the ground. When she looked up, she saw space through a huge hole in the wall. The air was being sucked out into the darkness. On the bridge, Lieutenant Harris managed to get his signal through to Earth just as a plasma blast destroyed the communications array. His last transmission showed the Keth ships firing on the helpless hospital ship. It showed doctors and nurses dying while trying to help their patients. It showed the Red Crosses being burned away by enemy fire. Captain Ryan Cole's final words were broadcast across the galaxy. "This is the medical vessel UESS Nightingale. We are under attack by Keth forces. We carry no weapons. We have only doctors, nurses, and patients. They are killing everyone. Tell Earth what happened here. Tell them we died trying to help people." The transmission ended as the bridge exploded in fire and light. Admiral Vextar watched the human ship die. It took 30 minutes for the Nightingale to break apart completely. As the pieces floated in space, he felt satisfied. The humans would learn that mercy was weakness, and weakness led to death. "Admiral, it is done," his second officer said. Quietly. "Good," Vextar replied. "Send a message to all Keth forces. Tell them what we did here today. Let them know this is what happens to those who help our enemies." But Admiral Vextar had made a terrible mistake. Lieutenant Harris's transmission had reached Earth. The images of the destroyed hospital ship, the dead doctors and nurses, the murdered patients, were already being seen by billions of humans across the galaxy. The message from the dying hospital ship reached Earth 4 hours after the attack. Lieutenant Danny Harris's final transmission played on every news screen across the planet. Billions of humans watched in horror as the UESS Nightingale was destroyed by Keth warships. President Helen Martinez was eating breakfast when her assistant ran into the dining room. "Madam President, you need to see this right now." Helen looked at the video tablet and felt her blood turn cold. She watched Captain Ryan Cole's final words. She saw the red crosses burning on the ship's hull. She saw Admiral Vextar's ugly face as he gave the order to fire on helpless patients. "Get me the Security Council immediately," Helen said. Her voice was quiet, but everyone in the room could hear the anger in it. "And get me Fleet Admiral Nancy Thompson, right now." Within 2 hours, the most powerful people in the Terran Federation were sitting around a large table in the underground war room. The video from the Nightingale played on the main screen. Many of the council members had tears in their eyes. "How many dead?" asked Defense Secretary Robert Greene. 3,800 total, reported Intelligence Director Mary Jones. 800 medical staff and 3,000 patients, including children from both sides of the war. Fleet Admiral Nancy Thompson sat at the end of the table. She was 60 years old and had been fighting in space for 40 years. Her gray hair was pulled back tight, and her blue eyes were hard as steel. She had not spoken since entering the room. "Nancy, what are our options?" President Martinez asked. Admiral Thompson stood up slowly. "Before I answer that, I need to tell you something. My daughter Jennifer was on that ship. She was a medical technician, 23 years old. She joined the medical service because she wanted to help people." The room became very quiet. Everyone knew that Admiral Thompson was the most respected military officer in human space. She had won every battle she had ever fought, but she had never lost a child. "Jennifer sent me a message 2 days ago," Thompson continued. "She said they had saved a young Keth soldier, maybe 16 years old. She was proud of the work they were doing. She believed they were making the galaxy a better place." "Admiral?" Thompson walked to the big screen where the video was still playing. "They killed my daughter while she was trying to save a Keth child's life. They killed doctors and nurses. They killed patients who could not even walk." She turned back to face the council. "You asked me about our options. I will tell you what our options are. We can send them a strong message, can hope they never do this again. Or we can show them what happens when someone attacks human medical personnel. What exactly are you suggesting?" "Ask the President." "I am suggesting we deploy the entire home fleet," Thompson said. "Every ship, every weapon, every Marine. We show the galaxy that there are some lines you do not cross." Defense Secretary Greene looked worried. "Nancy, that would be the largest military operation in human history. We are talking about over 2,000 ships." "Good," Thompson replied. "Let it be the largest. Let every alien race in the galaxy see what humans do when someone murders our doctors." The president looked around the table. "Are we all in agreement?" Every person in the room raised their hand. The vote was unanimous. "Admiral Thompson, you have complete authority to deploy whatever forces you need," President Martinez said. "Show them what happens when they attack the innocent." News of the decision spread across Earth within hours. The footage of the hospital ship's destruction was shown on every channel. Humans everywhere felt the same rage that filled the war room. Volunteer crews lined up at military bases, demanding to join the response dot at the Luna Military Academy. Commandant General Kevin White was training new officers when the news arrived. He gathered his students in the main hall and showed them the video from the Nightingale. "This is why we train," he told them. "Not to conquer, not to steal, but to protect those who cannot protect themselves." Every doctor, every nurse, every patient on that ship was under our protection. We failed them. We will not fail again. Within 6 hours, ships began moving from every corner of human space. The massive orbital shipyards around Earth, Mars, and Jupiter started working at full speed. Ships that were being repaired were pushed back into service. Even the newest experimental vessels were prepared for battle. Admiral Stephen Parker commanded the home fleet from his flagship, the USS Constitution. He had served under Admiral Thompson for 15 years and knew her better than anyone. He had never seen her this angry. "Admiral, we have over 1,800 ships ready to move," he reported. "More are coming from the outer colonies." "Not enough," Thompson replied. "I want every ship we have. Call back the deep space patrols. Pull ships from the training academies. If it can fight, I want it in this fleet." Captain Paul Green of the super dreadnought USS Liberty received his orders while his ship was being resupplied at Mars. The Liberty was the most powerful warship ever built by humans. Its main guns could destroy a small moon. "All crew to battle stations," Captain Green announced. "We are going to war." The crew of the Liberty had seen the video from the Nightingale. They worked with cold anger, preparing their ship for battle. Chief Gunner Bill Adams made sure every weapon was perfectly calibrated. "We are going to make them pay for what they did," he told his men. Carrier Admiral Lisa Adams was loading her fighter squadrons when she got a call from her brother Tom, who was a doctor on Earth. "Lisa, I knew Dr. Brooks personally. She was a good woman who only wanted to help people. Make them pay for what they did to her." "I will, Tom," Lisa replied. "I promise you that." The fighter pilots under Admiral Adams's command were the best in the fleet. They had watched the video of the attack over and over. Captain Tony Rodriguez, the squadron leader, spoke for all of them. "We volunteer for the most dangerous missions. Let us be the first to hit them." As the fleet gathered, intelligence reports came in from the Keth Empire. Captain Ben Wilson, the chief intelligence officer, briefed Admiral Thompson on enemy positions. "The Keth have concentrated most of their fleet at their main base in the Keth Prime system," Wilson reported. "They believe their numbers make them safe. They have about 800 ships total." "They are wrong," Thompson said simply. "How long to reach their home system?" 4 days at maximum speed," Wilson replied. "Make it 3 days," Thompson ordered. "I want to hit them before they know we are coming." By the end of the second day, the largest fleet in human history was assembled. Over 2,000 ships of every size and type floated in formation. Battleships, cruisers, destroyers, carriers, and support vessels filled the space around Earth like a metal cloud. Admiral Thompson stood on the bridge of her flagship, the USS Vengeance, and looked at the fleet through the main windows. Each ship represented the anger of the human race. Each captain and crew member was united by the same desire for justice. Captain Carol Brown, Thompson's executive officer, approached with a message tablet. "Admiral, we are receiving communications from alien governments. They are asking about our fleet movements." "What are they saying?" Thompson asked. "Most are worried about a large human fleet moving toward Keth space. The Altarian Republic is offering to mediate. The Centauri Federation wants to arrange peace talks." Thompson took the tablet and wrote a simple reply that was sent to every alien government in the galaxy. The Keth Empire attacked and destroyed a clearly marked hospital ship. They murdered doctors, nurses, and helpless patients. This was a war crime of the worst kind. We will have justice. Any government that tries to interfere will be considered an enemy of the Terran Federation. The message was clear. This was not a negotiation. This was justice. Admiral Thompson then composed a message that was broadcast across all human colonies and Earth itself. Citizens of the Terran Federation. 3 days ago, the Keth Empire committed an act so horrible that it shocks the conscience of every civilized being. They attacked and destroyed the hospital ship USS Nightingale. They killed 800 medical personnel and 3,000 patients, including children from many worlds. These doctors and nurses died while trying to save lives. They died while helping people from both sides of the war. They died because they believed in mercy and healing. The Keth Empire has shown us that they do not understand mercy. They believe it is weakness. Today, we will teach them that mercy is our strength, and attacking those who show mercy is a fatal mistake. We go now to demand justice for Dr. Amanda Brooks and her brave medical team. We go to honor Captain Ryan Cole and his crew. We go to make sure that no hospital ship is ever attacked again, not to the people of Earth and all human colonies. Your military is united in purpose. We will not rest until justice is done. The fleet began its final preparations for departure. In the weapons bays, technicians loaded the most powerful munitions ever created. In the fighter hangars, pilots checked their ships one last time. In the marine quarters, soldiers sharpened their combat knives and cleaned their rifles. But the most important preparation was happening in the hearts of every human in the fleet. They carried with them the memory of Dr. Brooks trying to save patients as her ship was destroyed. They remembered Captain Cole's final words as he died at his post. They thought of the young nurses who gave their lives helping others. The human fleet dropped out of hyperspace at the edge of Keth territory, like a storm cloud appearing in a clear sky. Admiral Nancy Thompson stood on the bridge of the USS Vengeance and watched as over 2,000 human warships took their positions. It was the most beautiful and terrible sight she had ever seen. "All ships report ready for battle, Admiral," said Captain Carl Brown, her executive officer. Thompson nodded. 3 days of traveling through hyperspace had given her time to think. About her daughter, Jennifer. She remembered when Jennifer was 5 years old and wanted to be a doctor like her mother. Now Jennifer was dead, killed while trying to help others. "Captain Rodriguez, what do our scouts report?" Thompson asked. Captain Tony Rodriguez, the intelligence officer, looked at his screens. The Keth have 800 ships gathered at their main base around Keth Prime. They seem to think their home defenses make them safe. They are wrong, Thompson said quietly. "Signal the fleet. We move toward Keth Prime in battle formation." A massive human fleet began moving through space, like a metal avalanche. At the front were the fast attack ships led by Rear Admiral Chris Baker. Behind them came the main battle line with the super dreadnoughts USS Liberty, USS Constitution, and USS Independence. These ships were so large they had their own small cities inside them. Captain Paul Green stood on the bridge of the USS Liberty and watched the enemy homeworld growing larger on his screens. His ship alone carried enough firepower to destroy a planet. Today, he hoped he would not need to use all of it. "Captain, we are receiving a transmission from the Keth High Command," reported his communications officer, Lieutenant Sam White. "Put it on the main screen," Captain Green ordered. The face that appeared was not Admiral Vextar, but an older Keth with golden scales and red eyes. He looked worried. "I am Supreme Commander Zektar of the Keth Empire. You are entering our territory with a massive fleet. This is an act of war." Captain Green smiled coldly. "We are already at war, Commander. Your Admiral Vextar made sure of that when he destroyed the hospital ship Nightingale." "That was a military operation against enemy forces," Zektar replied. But his voice showed he did not believe his own words. Enemy forces? Green's voice got louder. They were doctors and nurses treating your wounded soldiers. They were patients who could not even walk. Your admiral murdered 3,000 innocent people. The connection ended abruptly. Captain Green turned to his weapons officer. Chief Adams, are all guns ready? Yes, sir, replied Chief Gunner Bill Adams. We are loaded with our heaviest shells. The Liberty is ready to show them what human anger looks like. On the carrier USS Eagle, Admiral Lisa Adams watched her fighter squadrons prepare for launch. She had 400 of the best pilots in the fleet. Each fighter was faster and more deadly than anything the Keth had ever built. Admiral, we have clearance to launch, reported Commander Dave Miller, her air operations officer. Send them out, Adams ordered. But tell them to wait for my signal before attacking. I want the Keth to see what is coming for them. The fighters launched from the carrier bays like angry wasps. They formed up in perfect formations and flew ahead of the main fleet. The pilots had all seen the video from the Nightingale. They knew what they were fighting for. Flight leader Captain Joe Wilson led the first squadron. He spoke to his pilots over the radio. Remember why we are here. Remember Dr. Brooks and her team. Remember the patients who died in their beds. Today, we make the Keth pay for their crimes. Back on Keth Prime, Supreme Commander Zektar was in his command center trying to understand what was happening. His scouts reported that the human fleet was larger than anything they had ever seen. Some of the human ships were bigger than Keth. Space stations? How many ships do they have? Zektar asked his intelligence officer. Over 2,000, Supreme Commander. And they are all moving toward our homeworld. Zektar felt fear for the first time in his long military career. The Keth had never faced anything like this. Their 800 ships seemed small compared to the human fleet. Where is Admiral Vextar? Zektar demanded. Still on his flagship at the edge of the system, Supreme Commander. He says the humans are bluffing and will not really attack. Zektar wished he could believe that. But he had seen the recordings of the human president's speech. He had heard Admiral Thompson promise justice. These humans were not bluffing. The human fleet reached the outer edge of the Keth Prime system and stopped. Admiral Thompson wanted the enemy to see the full size of her fleet before the battle began. She wanted them to understand what they had brought on themselves. Open a channel to all Keth forces, Thompson ordered. Her message was broadcast to every Keth ship and base in the system. When she spoke, her voice was calm but filled with cold anger. I am Fleet Admiral Nancy Thompson of the Terran Federation. 3 days ago, your Admiral Vextar destroyed the hospital ship USS Nightingale. He murdered 800 medical personnel and 3,000 patients. Among the dead was my daughter, Jennifer Thompson, a medical technician who was trying to save lives. Thompson paused and looked directly into the camera. Admiral Vextar believes that mercy is weakness. He believes that attacking healers makes him strong. Today, we will show him how wrong he is. We offer you one chance to avoid total destruction. Surrender Admiral Vextar and his officers to face trial for war crimes. Do this, and we will limit our response. Refuse, and face the consequences. The message ended. Thompson gave the Keth 30 minutes to respond. On his flagship at the edge of the system, Admiral Vextar received the human demand. His officers looked at him with worried eyes. Some of them were starting to understand the terrible mistake their admiral had made. Admiral, maybe we should consider their offer, said his second officer, Commander Karan. They have more ships than we have ever seen. Vextar struck the young officer across the face with his clawed hand. Coward! We are Keth warriors. We do not surrender to weak humans. But even as he spoke, Vextar felt doubt creeping into his mind. The human fleet was much larger than intelligence had reported. These ships looked different from the ones the Keth had fought before. They looked newer, more powerful, more dangerous. "Send a message to all Keth forces," Vextar ordered. "Tell them to prepare for battle. We will show these humans that the Keth Empire does not bow to threats." The 30 minutes passed with no response from the Keth. Admiral Thompson was not surprised. She had not expected them to surrender their war criminal. "All ships, this is Admiral Thompson," she broadcast to her fleet. "The enemy has chosen to protect those who murder medical personnel. They have chosen war over justice. Show them the price of that choice. All ships, advance to battle positions. Fighters, you are free to engage enemy scouts. Capital ships, prepare for main battle. Today we fight not just for victory, but for every doctor and nurse who has ever tried to save a life." The human fleet began moving forward again. The fighters raced ahead, their engines leaving bright trails in the darkness. Behind them came the destroyers and cruisers, their weapons already charged and ready. Finally came the giant battleships. Moving slowly but steadily toward their enemy, Captain Sue Collins commanded the destroyer USS Retribution. Her ship was small compared to the battleships, but it was fast and deadly. She had volunteered for the most dangerous mission of all. "Navigation. Plot an intercourse for Admiral Vextar's flagship," she ordered. "I want that ship." "Captain, that will take us right through the middle of the enemy fleet," warned her executive officer. "Good," Collins replied. "I want Vextar to see us coming." On the super dreadnought USS Independence, Captain John Davis prepared his ship for battle. The Independence carried the largest guns in the human fleet. Each shell weighed as much as a small spaceship. "All gun crews report ready, Captain," said his weapons officer. "Target the largest Keth ships first," Davis ordered. "I want them to know we mean business." As the fleets moved closer together, both sides prepared for what would be the largest space battle in galactic history. The Keth had numbers, experience, and strong defensive positions. But the humans had something more powerful than any weapon. Had justice on their side. They had the memory of Dr. Amanda Brooks dying while trying to save her patients. They had the image of Captain Ryan Cole refusing to abandon his medical ship. They had the voices of 800 medical personnel who had given their lives to help others. Admiral Thompson stood on her bridge and watched the enemy ships growing larger on the main screen. In a few hours, this would all be over. Either the Keth would learn to respect human medical personnel, or the Keth Empire would cease to exist. "All ships, final weapons check," Thompson ordered. "In 10 minutes, we show the galaxy what happens when someone attacks our healers." The human fleet continued its advance toward Keth Prime. Behind them, Earth and all the human colonies waited for news. Ahead of them, the Keth Empire prepared to learn a lesson they would never forget. The battle for justice was about to begin. The Battle of Keth Prime began at exactly 08:00 hours ship time. Admiral Nancy Thompson gave the order that would change galactic history forever. All ships open fire. The human fleet unleashed hell upon the Keth Empire. 2,000 ships fired, their weapons at the same time. The darkness of space lit up like a newborn star as energy beams, plasma bolts, and missile trails crossed the void between the fleet's. Captain Paul Green watched from the bridge of the USS. Liberty is as massive. Guns fired their first shots. Each shell was the size of a small building and moved faster than most spaceships. When they hit the Keth battle stations, the explosions could be seen from 3 star systems away. "Direct hit on Target 1, reported Chief Gunner Bill Adams. "Keth battle station is completely destroyed." "Good," Captain Green replied. "Target their next largest station. Show them what happens when they murder doctors." The human fighters reached the enemy first. Captain Joe Wilson led his squadron directly into the Keth fighter formations. The alien pilots had never seen anything like the human ships. They were faster, more agile, and carried weapons that could destroy 3 enemy fighters with one shot. "This is for Dr. Brooks," Wilson said over the radio as he destroyed a Keth fighter. "And this is for all the patients who died in their beds." Behind the fighters came the human destroyers and cruisers. Captain Sue Collins pushed the USS Retribution through the enemy lines, heading straight for Admiral Vextar's flagship. Enemy. Fire hit her ship again and again, but she did not slow down. "Captain, our shields are down to 30%, reported her executive officer. "I do not care if they go down to 0, Collins replied. "We are getting that ship." The Keth fleet tried to fight back, but they were completely overwhelmed. The humans had twice as many ships, and each human ship was more advanced than anything the Keth had ever built. Worse for the Keth, the human crews fought with a fury that terrified the alien warriors. Supreme Commander Zektar watched from his command center as his fleet was destroyed piece by piece. In the first hour of battle, the humans had already destroyed half of his ships. His defensive stations were gone. His fighter squadrons were being wiped out. "Supreme Commander, we must surrender," urged his aide. "We cannot win this battle." "No," Zektar said, but his voice showed he knew the truth. "Send a message to Admiral Vextar. Tell him to retreat. Maybe he can escape with some of our ships." But Admiral Vextar was not thinking about retreat. His flagship was surrounded by human ships, and Captain Collins was closing in fast. The old Keth admiral finally understood the terrible mistake he had made. The humans were not weak. They were the most dangerous enemy he had ever faced. "Admiral, the human destroyer is almost in boarding range," reported his weapons officer. "All ships protect the flagship," Vextar ordered. But most of his escort ships were already destroyed or fleeing. Captain Collins brought the USS Retribution alongside Vextar's flagship. "Prepare boarding parties," she ordered. "I want that ship taken intact. Admiral Vextar will face justice for what he did." Colonel Matt Rogers led the Marine boarding party that cut through the hull of the Keth flagship. His men fought their way through the alien ship corridor by corridor. The Keth soldiers tried to stop them, but human Marines were better trained and better equipped. "Colonel, we have reached the bridge," reported Sergeant Dan Cooper over the radio. "Take them alive if possible," Rogers replied. "Dead criminals cannot face trial." The Marines burst onto the bridge of the Keth flagship. Admiral Vextar stood in the center of the room, holding a plasma pistol. His yellow eyes showed fear for the first time in his life. "Stay back, humans," Vextar snarled. "I will not be taken alive." Colonel Rogers stepped forward, his rifle pointed at the alien admiral. "You can surrender or you can die. But either way, you are coming with us." Vextar looked around his ruined bridge. Half his officers were dead. His ship was crippled. His fleet was destroyed. The great Keth Empire was finished. "Why?" Vextar asked. "They were just doctors. Just weak humans who could not fight." "That is exactly why," Rogers replied. "You attacked people who were trying to help others. You killed healers. In human culture, that is the worst crime possible." Vextar dropped his weapon. He was too tired to fight anymore. The Marines took him into custody and brought him back to the USS Retribution. The main battle continued for 3 more hours, but the outcome was never in doubt. The human fleet systematically destroyed every Keth warship in the system. Admiral Thompson wanted to make sure the galaxy understood what happened when someone attacked human medical personnel. Captain John Davis of the USS Independence targeted the largest Keth ships with his massive guns. Each shot destroyed a cruiser or damaged a battleship beyond repair. His crew worked with mechanical precision, loading and firing their weapons again and again. "Captain, the enemy flagship is surrendering," reported his communications officer. "Good," Davis replied, "but keep firing at the military targets. They need to learn this lesson completely." Admiral Lisa Adams launched wave after wave of fighters from her carriers. The human pilots dominated the space around Keth Prime, destroying enemy fighters and bombing military installations on the planet's surface. "Admiral, we have complete air superiority," reported Commander Dave Miller. "Excellent," Adams replied. "Now target their ship construction facilities. I want to make sure they cannot rebuild their fleet." By 1400 hours, the Battle of Keth Prime was over. The entire Keth fleet was either destroyed, captured, or fleeing the system. 800 alien warships had been reduced to floating wreckage in just 6 hours. Admiral Thompson stood on her bridge and looked at the defeated enemy. She felt no joy in the victory, only satisfaction that justice had been done. "Admiral, we are receiving surrender signals from all remaining Keth forces," reported Captain Carol Brown. "Accept their surrender," Thompson ordered. "But make it clear that Admiral Vextar and his officers will face trial for war crimes." The aftermath of the battle shocked the entire galaxy. News of the human victory spread to every star system. Within days, alien governments that had considered humans weak and peaceful suddenly viewed them with new respect and fear. Supreme Commander Zeektar was brought aboard the USS Vengeance to formally surrender. He looked at Admiral Thompson with something close to awe. "I do not understand," Zeektar said. "Why did you bring so many ships to fight us? We only destroyed one of your vessels." Thompson's blue eyes were cold as ice. "That one vessel was a hospital ship. The people on it were healers, not warriors. They died trying to save lives, including the lives of your own soldiers." "But they were just doctors," Zeektar said, still not understanding. "In human culture, doctors are sacred," Thompson explained. "They represent the best of what we can be. When you attack them, you attack everything we stand for. That is why we brought every ship we had." Within a week, the trials of the Keth War criminals began. Admiral Vextar and his officers were charged with crimes against sentient beings. The evidence was clear. The video from the Nightingale was shown to representatives from across the galaxy. The trials were broadcast on every news network. Alien. Governments watched as the humans demonstrated that justice was more important to them than revenge. Vextar was sentenced to life in prison. His officers received lesser sentences based on their level of involvement. But the most important result of the Battle of Keth Prime was the creation of the Nightingale Protocols. Admiral Thompson worked with representatives from every major government to establish new laws protecting medical personnel and hospital ships. "Never again will healers be targeted in war," Thompson announced at the signing ceremony. "Any government that attacks medical personnel will face the same response the Keth Empire received." The protocols were signed by every civilized government in the galaxy. Medical ships would be protected by more than just law now. They would be protected by the promise of human vengeance against anyone who harmed them. A year later, a memorial station was built at the coordinates where the UESS Nightingale had been destroyed. The station served as both a hospital and a reminder of what happened to those who attacked healers. Dr. Emma Watson, the chief medical officer of the memorial station, stood in the main medical bay and looked at the wall where the names of the Nightingale's crew were displayed. 800 names of doctors, nurses, and medical technicians who had died trying to help others. Their sacrifice saved countless lives, she said to the new medical students touring the station. Because of what happened here, medical personnel across the galaxy are now safer. New hospital ships were launched from Earth's shipyards every month. Each one carried the name of someone who had died on the Nightingale. The UESS Amanda Brooks, the UESS Ryan Cole, the UESS Linda Grant, Their names would continue the mission of healing that had cost them their lives. Admiral Thompson retired from active duty, but continued to serve as an advisor on medical ship security. She visited the memorial station often, spending time in the section dedicated to her daughter Jennifer. The Keth Empire never recovered from their defeat. Their military was reduced to a small defensive force. They became a minor power, always aware that the humans were watching them. The lesson of Keth Prime was never forgotten.